Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Porter's Product Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Porter, and today we're diving into one of the most critical skills for every product marketer, building a strong go-to-market strategy. Joining me today is Jonathan Pipek, the founder of Blue Manta Consulting, where he helps B2B SaaS companies sharpen their product marketing strategy, positioning, and go-to-market execution. With over a decade of experience in spanning startups and global enterprises, Jonathan specializes in bridging the gap between products and customers, ensuring clear messaging and impactful launches. He partners with leadership teams to accelerate growth, align stakeholders, and build scalable marketing foundations that drive measurable business results. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Josh. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive right into our first question. What are the first steps that you take when building a go-to-market strategy for a new product or feature?
It's a great question. The first thing I focus on is what prospects I'm going to target. So, also known as ICP and personas, because that really lays the foundation for the rest of go-to-market. So am I targeting enterprise or SMB? Am I targeting specific industries or verticals? Within those industries and verticals, are there specific personas, right? Like buyers, champions, other stakeholders, et cetera. So really start by defining who I'm going after. Once I figure out who I'm going after, it's a lot easier to think about, okay, well, now that I know who I'm going after, what do I want to tell them, right? What is the positioning messaging that I want to develop in order for it to resonate, in order for them to understand what it is that I'm offering, so on and so forth. Really basically position my product and message my product in a way that really attracts them and interests them. And then once I've done that, it's like, okay, well, one of the first questions is going to be, how do I buy this, right? What does the pricing and packaging look like? Is it sold? Is it a flat cost per year? Is it a monthly recurring cost? Is it usage-based, seat-based, license-based, so on and so forth? So really developing that compelling offering. And then the piece that kind of puts it all together is distribution, right? So how do you actually reach your customers, or your prospects, I should say, efficiently? Whether that's, specific channels like, social media, maybe it's partnerships that get you a lot of reach, like in the IT space, right? You always partner with a big distributor that gives you a ton of reach, for example. Maybe you're going to build a community or take advantage of partnering with communities that already exist. Basically, how are you going to figure out how to reach your customers? And of course, all of this is built on customer research, talking to customers, understanding their needs, their pain points, how this fits in their current process, so on and so forth. But those are kind of the big four that I focus on.
I love it. That's great. That's really clear. I like the very structured and simplified way that you approach that. So first off, of course, comes to the ICPs and the personas who you're talking to. And I liked how you bifurcated between ICPs and personas, because those are two different things, but I think often sometimes people conflate them. And sure. ICPs, I like to say ideal company profile, not ideal customer profile, just to be clear. And then the personas as being like the actual person that you're talking to. And then going to how are you going to tell the story to them? What story are you going to tell to them, which is the positioning and the messaging. And then the pricing and packaging. Sometimes product marketers involved in that, sometimes they're not. But I like that you're bringing this as part of, yes, it's clear. How do you make the offering something compelling to them, and how do you monetize it? And then how do you even reach these people? So I love that structure. I'm very much about frameworks, and I think you have a really clear way to kind of say, this is how to go to market starts.
Yeah, and look, even if you're not involved in pricing or packaging as a product marketer, having an understanding of, one, what it is, but then two, also being able to kind of pressure test it and say, okay, well, hold on, we're targeting SMBs, but our pricing starts at, I don't know, 50,000 website views a month. That's how we build our pricing. Most SMBs probably don't get 50,000, maybe like high-end SMBs, like the high end of the market. So maybe we need to kind of change our pricing metric or just lower it, right? Maybe it starts at 5,000. So those are the things where we can kind of partner with whoever's creating the pricing and packaging to give them a little bit of kind of industry or even ICP context to make it better. So maybe we're not the one saying this is the price for X amount of product. Fine, fair enough. But at least we can provide some insight to kind of guide it.
I love that. That's really valuable, because I think that's part of what product marketing should be, is the ability to counterbalance product sometimes and say, great, you've got this great technical product, but here's some thoughts that I have, insights that maybe might challenge that a bit, or at least help them think through differently. So I love that. I think I saw one post about how bringing the market to the product is one of the major pieces of product marketing. It's like, of course, product marketers bringing the product to the market, but it also should be the other way around.
For sure.
So
has to be, yeah.
Awesome. So next question is, how do you decide which segments, personas, or channels to prioritize in a go-to-market plan?
You said channels, segments, and personas. I think it depends, right? So if we're talking about a completely new product, I'd probably tackle that differently than an existing one. So for a new product, I'd start off with secondary research, just to be able to make some kind of educated guess and say like, hey, I think, based on this research, I'd say probably like, these are probably the top 3 segments and top 3 personas that are a best fit. Then I'd go and interview them to see if I'm right? If that's about right, or if it's actually, hey, I thought it was the, I don't know, IT service manager. It's actually the IT guy that's in charge of the, APIs. Okay, got it. So IT, but wrong persona, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I'd go interview them, understand their pain points, see if what we're saying resonates with them, right? If our solutions resonate with them. And then from there, I'd basically go and test and iterate with the demand gen team and sales outreach, and over time kind of build that ICP and persona there. If it's an existing product, though, I would hope that our CRM data would be somewhat helpful. So I'd look at the CRM to see kind of what are the prospects that are most likely to close, right? If we have 100 prospects, there's going to be 20 of them that close faster than everyone else. They probably also have the highest ACV, right? Average contract value. They probably also churn less, renew more, cross-sell and upsell more, so on and so forth. So I'd look at all and use the product more. So I'd probably start there and use that to build my ICP and personas. And then as far as channels, that I would probably do as part of customer research. So when I'm interviewing the customers for the new product and kind of the new customer base, I would say, hey, what channels do y'all use? Are there podcasts you listen to? Are there communities you're part of? Are you on social media? So on and so forth. And then for current customers, hopefully we already have kind of a set of channels to go down, but if not, kind of doing the same research. So I think that's how I would probably tackle it, is like with a new product, make those educated guesses, validate or invalidate those guesses with customer research, and then test and iterate with demand gen. And then for a existing product, rely on CRM data and kind of go from there.
I like that. So new products, secondary research, test and validate, and then existing products use the CRM data, which gives you a little more information. I think that's super helpful. And I also like how you highlight again for channels, it's all about customer research, because that's what you mentioned earlier in the first question was how to reach these people. Well, that's part of the understanding of who your audience is. You need to know who you're talking to, what you're saying to them, how to say it, and how to reach them. And so that's a really good way to kind of think about that in terms of how you're prioritizing some of these.
Yeah.
items.
And I mean, you get a sense of it, right? Because like if you're a true product marketer, which I'm sure everyone listening to this call already is, or this podcast already is, you kind of embed yourself in the industry, right? So when I was in the cybersecurity space, I signed up for a few email like cybersecurity newsletters. I joined the Reddit, Slack, the Reddit, the subreddits, right, about cybersecurity and kind of related IT space. I was part of these MSP groups on Facebook. MSPs, managed service providers, sorry. What else? I went to industry conferences. I followed all the big IT names on LinkedIn and kind of our major competitors, so on and so forth. And you kind of get a sense of like, hey, when our target audience was MSPs, managed service providers, when they need help, they need a new tool, they would go to Reddit. That was their first place they went to. When they needed advice on growing their business, they would go to a peer group, so on and so forth. And you kind of get a sense of like how, what channels make sense. Like you're not going to go and, post on Reddit, hey, you can increase your income by, 200% by doing X. Why? Because people see through that. You are going to go on Reddit to say like, hey, what do you guys use for whatever?
Yes.
firewall, right? And then the peer group is the opposite. Peer group, like, you're not going to waste time asking for tools, like maybe, but the real thing is like, look, we're all growing businesses and we're not competitive because you're in California and I'm in Utah, but help me understand, like, how do you get to that next level of profitability? Because you have, whatever, 3 mil in revenue and I'm stuck at 1 mil. Like, it's a different, more strategic conversation. So I think most PMMs get embedded in, kind of our prospect and customers' lives, not in their lives, sorry, uh, kind of the industry, and you kind of learn where they go to, and hopefully that helps too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I like how, kind of going a little bit even deeper into the channels, you're talking about some of those non-traditional ones that I think people overlook. Podcasts, Reddit, specific communities
Yep.
that some of these buyers are looking into. That, yeah, everybody thinks emails, everybody thinks of websites, everybody thinks of, partners, which they're key and they're table stakes, but
For sure.
doing that research, you uncover other ones that maybe you overlook, like those ones that you'd mentioned. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, and even like, and like, again, a lot of this is industry specific, but in the cybersecurity space, if you're not working with CDW or Pax8 or like these big distributors, like, you just don't even have a chance, right? So again, that's kind of a major channel that can be, depending on your product, that could be anywhere from like 20 to 40% of your sales,
Yeah,
coming from a distributor. So I mean, again, it really makes a lot of sense to think about how the industry already buys and just embed yourself in it.
totally. Fun fact: I did partner with CDW on a few marketing initiatives. So
Oh, nice.
yes, they're definitely good to work with. All right, so awesome. Next question is about challenges. What are the biggest challenges you see teams face when executing go-to-market strategies, and how do product marketers overcome them?
Ooh, I have a big pet peeve here. So, um, my big pet peeve when it comes to go to market challenges is that product marketers don't understand the difference between go to market and a product launch. So
Mm-hmm.
so like, what they end up doing is they end up focusing on like an attribute of go to market. So they're like, oh, I nailed our positioning, or I defined the heck out of my ICP, or what have you. But it's like they forget the strategy of go to market, which is something that should move the entire business forward. So I did a webinar, I think it was with Amit with PMM Fix, and we basically dug into kind of the difference between go to market and a product launch. And where I ended up was that a product launch is kind of a more boxed kind of element of go to market. So a product launch is a coordinated, time bound initiative, and the whole goal is basically to introduce a new product to the market and obviously drive awareness, sales, product adoption, so on and so forth. So that's a product launch. But go to market is a company's strategic plan for selling its products effectively to the target market, right? So when you think about the difference there, go to market could be, sure, could be a product launch, but maybe that product launch is an existing market. Maybe, go to market could also be you're entering a new market with a new or
Yep.
existing product. It could be, hey, we were targeting XYZ industry. Now we're targeting another industry, right? So we were targeting, I don't know, oil and gas. Now we're going to water plants.
Mm-hmm.
It could mean changing your go-to-market motion, right? Almost all of us are kind of default to SLG. Maybe now you're switching to PLG, or you're adding on PLG. It could be community-led growth. It could be partner ecosystem. It could be so many different things. Like, go-to-market is so much bigger. And I think we focus so much on like, hey, this product launch is how we define go-to-market. And that's not go-to-market. That's like one very specific element of it. So I think that's kind of the biggest mistake that PMMs do. So again, they'll nail their positioning. And I'm like, that's great. But you forgot, like, you didn't think about your overall go-to-market and the fact that, I don't know, 80% of your target audience is in this one community. And
Mm-hmm.
if you would have spent like half as much time on your positioning and more time on, hey, let's partner with this community and figure out a partnership plan, and you have actual access to your ICP in that community, and it's going to cost you, I don't know, 5 times less than ads or 5 times less than SDR outreach. Like, that's real go to market, not, hey, I nailed my positioning and now, like, check. Like, it's like, I call it checklist PMMing. Like, it's just like, they get,
Mm-hmm.
like, PMMs get so infatuated with positioning, messaging, pricing, packaging. I'm like, that's all great. I love that. but don't forget about the actual go-to-market element, the actual strategy element, the actual how do I make this a business element. And the best way, like the trick I've found for this, which I highly recommend for all product marketers, regardless of your company size, is go talk to a seed or pre-seed stage founder, because they're going to tell you, they're going to be like, Josh, my guy, like, help me out. I need to make a sale. Like, and you're going to be like, oh man, okay, let's work on your positioning. They're going to be like, positioning? No, you don't understand. I need to make a sale like tomorrow, or my company's done. And they're like, oh, okay, well, why don't we work on your SDR outreach? It's like, okay, well, who do I reach out to? Like, the problems become so much more finite and so much more urgent that the conversation is like, okay, like, it doesn't make sense for me to spend time on a one pager or to spend time on developing like this messaging framework or all this stuff. It's like, okay, this is the problem we solve. This is who we think we solve it for, and how we solve it better than alternatives. How do we reach them as strategically, effortlessly, and cheaply as possible? And it's just the whole conversation changes. So again, highly recommend, if you're a product marketer, go talk to a seed or pre-seed stage founder, try to help them with their go-to-market, and that like completely unlocks your view of go-to-market.
Yeah, I like that, and that's good. So I think the TLDR is the difference between go-to-market and your definition and product launches. Go-to-market is just this overall strategy of how to really get products into the market, versus a product launch is just one specific tactic of a go-to-market strategy.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that's definitely key to understand, because if product launches are your only go-to-market motion, you got a big problem. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's a good way to kind of think about the differences between the two, so that they're not conflated. Awesome. So next question is, how do you measure the success of a go-to-market strategy, and what metrics tell you if you're on the right track?
Yeah. So, I mean, we just defined go-to-market strategy as basically how a company sells its products to its target market, right? So I think that's probably a great place to start. So what's interesting about that, right? If you think about that very simple definition, you're like, oh, okay, well, if we have sales, then our go-to-market's working. So not necessarily, right? Because it sounds simple, but it's actually a little bit more nuanced. So let me explain kind of what I'm thinking. So when you hopefully, and you're working at a startup or even a later stage company, it doesn't matter. Hopefully your leadership has kind of explained what the goals are. And I don't mean like the crappy quarterly goals that are like super generic and mean nothing. I mean like, hey, what is our raison d'etre, right? Like, what is our reason for being here? Like, are we trying to be more profitable? Are we trying to penetrate the market? So on and so forth. Are we trying to raise a new fund, a new round of funding? Do we want to just max out our revenue, et cetera? Because what that strategy or that goal is going to do is it's going to change your definition of success when it comes to go to market. So let's say profitability is kind of the number one goal, right? You just want to maximize profitability. That's what C-suite has determined is the number one goal. Okay, great. Well, then if you're just killing it in sales, but you're discounting like crazy, or you're priced so low that you don't have high margin offerings, then you're not really crushing your go-to-market, right? Or let's say you are entering a new market, right? You're in the US, you're based in the US, you've kind of expanded through the US, and now you're going to Europe. This product category doesn't exist in Europe, so you have to basically get into as many sales as possible, like just penetrate the market as quickly as possible before your competitors catch up. Okay, fantastic. Then if you're just selling like really huge deals, and sure, you're making a ton of revenue, but those deals are taking 18 months, that's not really go-to-market success, right? You probably want to do a land and expand kind of go-to-market, where you're going in and maybe instead of your ACV being 50 grand, maybe it's 10, but maybe you get that sale in, I don't know, 6 months, so you can expand really, really quickly versus, 3 times slower at 18 months, but now your ACV is 50 grand. Because again, it's just a different goal. If you're prepping for acquisition or funding, what have we all seen in the last 2-3 years once ZERP era kind of went out the window, right? What we've seen is a really big focus on net revenue retention and gross revenue retention, right? What does that mean? It means cross-sells and upsells. So again, how do I define go-to-market success in that situation, right? When you're trying to get your next round of funding or you're trying to get acquired, are you killing it with cross-sells and upsells? Like, are your renewals like out the wazoo? Are you continually growing your current customer base? Because that's how you define go-to-market success. You don't necessarily care as much about new business. You always do. But again, you're focusing on really making yourself as an attractive acquisition target or an attractive a investment opportunity, right, for your next funding round as possible. And then the other one is, and these are just the common ones, right, is maximizing revenue. Okay, so you've decided maximum revenue is your goal. Great. Then you probably want to create like some kind of bundle offer. You probably want to have some kind of platform play or joint solution, because that'll raise your ACV. So again, you're going to consider go-to-market success. Have we increased our ACV X percent? We had our average ACV last year was, I don't know, 50 grand. This year it's 70. Fantastic. Then that's go-to-market success, versus if you sell a bunch of low revenue products or you don't bundle as much, maybe that's not go-to-market success. So I think those are kind of it all starts with goals. The problem I see though is that so many startups either, one, don't define their goals, or two, don't share them. So it's
Yes.
it's like, you're told like these goals are like, your goal is launch this new product. No, that's not a goal. Like your goal is, hey, we need to get, funded next year because we're going to run out of money. So in the next 12 months, we need to raise, whatever, $5 million, $10 million, $30 million, whatever it is. Okay, that's the goal. Fantastic. Yeah. Now that I know that, like my entire approach changes. Or you tell me, hey, we need to just destroy the competition, right? We're a Fortune 500. We're entering a new market abroad, where maybe we're going into Japan. We need to destroy the competition, get there first, or just beat them with lower pricing, so on and so forth. Okay, that's a completely different approach, right? So again, one is just defining the goals, but then the other one is like C-suite has this tendency to just like hoard those goals and not tell anyone. And to me, it's just baffling, because it's like, look, if your goals are so like are so secretive that you can't tell your own team, like you don't trust them, like how do you even succeed, right? It's like, hey, Josh, you and I are gonna cook together, but I'm not gonna tell you what we're cooking. Like, okay, like, are we making a sandwich? Or are we making lasagna? Or are we making Chinese? Like, help me out a little bit, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of what I see all the time, is like, they either don't have the goals defined, which is probably way more common, and then the second one is just C-suite hoards it and doesn't tell anyone. It's like, well, yeah, of course, then your business doesn't react accordingly. So again, defining go-to-market success depends on what your goals are, and you have to define your goals and share your goals in order to be able to kind of figure out whether you're being successful or not.
And Jonathan, what do you attribute that opaqueness to be sometimes from leadership?
It's funny. I think these, like, especially earlier stage startups, I think, and this might be less true now with AI, but I think they're so convinced that if someone knows, like if a competitor knows something, that they're going to be in trouble. And to me, it's like, okay, let's just say hypothetically, you want to go to Europe and do a land and expand. So you're going to price aggressively and you're going to just try to blitz the market, like so on and so forth. And you don't want to tell your competitors that. Great. Is it not going to be super obvious, unless they're like living under a rock, that suddenly advertising is everywhere, that suddenly their customers are churning and going to your company, that suddenly you're at the same conference as they are, that you're in the same communities? Like, is it not going to be ridiculously obvious? Again, unless they're living under a rock, of course it is. Will they know that you're 100%, like your strategy is 100% like blitz? Maybe not. But once they figure out your pricing, because they'll figure out your pricing, they'll ask a customer that switched, right, doing win-loss analysis if they have a PMM. They'll realize, oh, they're pricing really aggressively because they want to undercut us. Okay, fine. So sure, maybe you'll have like a month or two of like a surprise, but it's 2025. Like, we have AI, we have the internet, like we can interview customers and prospects that we've lost all the time. It's very, very easy these days to get this information. So I think these founders just like, they genuinely think that secrecy will help them succeed. And sure, do you want to go and like write a press release about your strategy? Probably not. But if you're not at least telling your senior leaders and the very strategic functions like product management, product marketing, et cetera, that need to play a role in this, like you're you're sailing with most of your sails closed, like furled. So what's the point?
Yeah. No, I hear you. That's interesting. And going back to kind of your general response to this, I think that it's really good to be able to understand what are the nuances in terms of the goals for, how to make sure you are on track. Because you need to be asking yourself all along the way, how are we doing?
Right.
Well, if you don't know what the goal is, then there's nothing to say whether you're doing good or bad. And that's always a recipe for disaster, going back to the cooking, analogy.
I mean, right. Like I could be making a fantastic lasagna, and then I find out that I'm actually cooking for a lactose intolerant and gluten free group that actually requested Chinese. Oh, great. Well, now, I mean, sorry, I'm craving I'm craving some sesame chicken right now, but but it's serious. It's true. It's like you do these things without knowing where you're going. I mean, it really does not matter. I always give the spaceship analogy. It's like you've built a spaceship or even a plane, right? You've designed it so it can reach Mars and survive Mars' terrible, atmosphere, so on and so forth. And then they tell you, oh, by the way, we're actually going to Neptune. Okay,
Yeah.
well, you probably need to change a lot of different things as part of your spacecraft to make it work, right? So same thing with go-to-market. Like if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what your goal is, you're flying blind.
Totally. And it comes down to purpose. It really comes down to purpose. And if you're not aligned on that purpose, then you could be going left when they were hoping you were going right. And that's because their communication wasn't aligned. So sometimes that's on you as the product marketer. Sometimes that's on maybe the leadership or the stakeholders. And that's why you just have to make sure that purpose is united.
Yeah, and crystal clear. You have to push them. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, Jonathan, these insights are pretty much gold. So you've really broken down the GTM strategy into something practical, repeatable, and measurable. So, and that's something that all PMMs need. So, but before we wrap, let's really shift into our rapid fire round. Quick questions, quick answers. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Favorite marketing tool?
Notebook LM.
100% agree with you on that. I love the capability to just have your own information and not the general world information, but staying the capabilities of synthesizing and summarization. So absolutely agree with you. What's the most underrated skill in product marketing?
Ooh, emotional intelligence. Like people focus way too much on the hard skills. It's all about the soft skills.
In that you, as a product marketer, are dealing with so many stakeholders that you have to be able to speak with them in a way that they see that you see them. Maybe they don't agree with you, but they at least understand that you're trying to get their point of view.
Yeah, and look, I think it's a lot easier to teach someone how to be good at positioning or teach someone how to be good at, pricing. It's a lot harder, I think, to teach soft skills.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one for sure. Next question is, what's the biggest mistake to avoid in product marketing?
Ooh, assuming you know what your customer wants. I see that all the time.
Yes, I love that. There will be often times where it's not just product marketing. Many other parts of SaaS business will like to speak for the customer.
Yep.
And I think you're 100% right. And product marketing is especially susceptible, and they need to be crystal clear on this. But yeah, you can't assume you know what your customer wants. You can't speak for them. You need to have data in order to do that. And to get the data, you have to do the research, as you mentioned earlier in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question is, what's one thing you wish you knew when you started?
Cross-functional relationships are more important than the product and everything else.
Interesting. Kind of goes back to that emotional intelligence piece.
Yeah, it's when I started, I think I was like, oh, the product's really important, and it is, but you can have a fantastic product if you have crappy cross-functional relationships. It almost doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, no, that's good. I like that. That's a really good insight. All right, and the last question is, what's your favorite podcast?
Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm not a podcast guy, but I will say Porter's product marketing podcast. You should check it out.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. Totally okay. You're not a podcast guy, but that's fine. Well, great, Jonathan. Really great having you here. I think this conversation has really been a masterclass in go-to-market strategy, and I'm pretty sure the listeners will take away a lot of the frameworks that you provided, and it will help them in some of their product marketing journeys. And thanks again for everyone else tuning in. If you really enjoyed this episode, please follow Porter's Product Marketing Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube, of course, and share it with your team. Drop some comments in the thread and keep building strategies that actually work. Until next time, we're signing off.